Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend Rashid, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me. Another of those powerful platforms, bar none, on God, education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. Now, I know all of you guys are waiting for our special guest that'll be coming live from Japan. And I was just informed by him that he's running just a little bit late. He's waiting. His train is delayed for a second, but he will be here. He said, give him a few. He may be a few minutes late, but give him a few minutes, okay? And that is the host of Neutrality Studies, a huge platform on YouTube with Pascal Lottaz. So we'll be waiting for him, but we're going to still talk about Iran has the Strait of Hormuz in a chokehold. And I want to bring this up to you guys to show you the dire consequences, the repercussions of arrogance, hubris, imperialism, racism, fascism, and the dismissal of cultural differences, the dismissal of politics in other regions, the dismissal of people having the right to live their life and run their country the way they want to run it. See, this is about domination. America, this is about domination. And again, for those of you who are joining us, Pascal Lottaz, he'll be here. He said his train is delayed for a second, but he will be here and shortly. Okay. Oh, and he's in the building now, so I got to add him to the screen right now. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you today for joining me on the stream today, sir.
Thank you very much, Rashid, and my apologies for being late. My mistake and the mistake of the train.
Yeah, I was talking about the mistakes right before you came on about the hubris, the arrogance, and the racist and narcissism of Trump and American imperialism. Do you think that this is the reason that the entire world is like turning against the so-called rules-based order, and this is angering the deep state to make these irrational policy moves?
Well, you see, the rules-based order as an expression in the first place is an invention of the actual empire. You know, there is no rules-based order. We always used to call it international law, and we call it that because there is a written international law that is well understood, that is 450 years old, same rules for everybody, right? Including the United States, including the empire. But the empire doesn't like that naturally. Therefore, it comes up with its own set of rules that it actually never writes down. The point about the rules-based order is that there's no book. There's nothing. You cannot look it up. It's just a speech act. So, you know, international law is the rule of law, equal for everybody. Rules-based order is the rule by law, by the supreme race that then tells everybody else downstream that they need to do A, B, C, D because it's the rules-based order. When they break A, B, C, D, they tell you, well, the rules-based order says we can do that. It's really that dumb. It sounds stupid, but it's that dumb, and it works because it is this international jargon, and then people in suits and neckties, they say it, and then idiots around the world repeat it who don't understand what they actually engage with. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
You still hear me?
Stop paying those greedy telecom giants out.
Hello, sorry, I think we have a bad connection.
It's not on. I was hearing you. I don't know which end is on, but I know, as I told the last couple guests that I had, we've been having bad thunderstorms moving in and out of the area for the last few days, and so that maybe could play a part in it. But today I had the internet services rebooted and everything cleared out, and they said that my internet was a-okay. And as a matter of fact, they're going to come and change out the lines and a new box put in again Friday. So I don't think it's on my end, but it could be, and I'm not gonna say so. But I do want to say this. Do you believe that that this is the end of the American century and the end of Western global hegemony?
Um, I think so. At this point, I don't see how it could go in a different way anymore, because we've had now Western hegemony for 500 years, not just since yesterday, not since 45. It's 500 years since the Europeans started leaving their continent, genocide three other continents, North America, South America, and Australia, replaced them with their own people, replaced them with people who didn't want to go there from Africa, just massive numbers of slaves that were driven across the Atlantic. And that regime that then was built, and it was dominated by the Europeans for at least 350, 400 years, and in the last 100 years it shifted to North America, but it's essentially the same mindset, the same culture, the same genocidal underlying way of thought that says, like, we dominate and you listen or else, and if you don't make space for us, then we just kill you. That is
Especially Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. They are funding their own infrastructure projects, and they're saying, if you in the West want a part of this, then you're going to have to come in under our rules and not your dictates. And I think this has France rattled, and I think it has the West, especially America, rattled. And I think this is why you see the influx of these so-called terrorist groups that come out of nowhere, like Boko Haram and ISIS and all of this other stuff. What do you have to say about that?
It's exactly right. You know, there are several tricks that the Europeans have, prison camps and so on. Whatever you want to say about China treating its population like harshly, the United States does it 4 or 5-fold as bad. And if you then look at the distribution, like of the race distribution within the U.S. prison population, you still see how the empire, which part the empire hates more, and which and how it treats them. So my hope actually is that Black America and Latin America and so on, and white working class America, at some point will come together to say, like, look, we can't do this anymore. We need to treat not only people outside the empire better, we need to treat our own people better. And funnily enough, every single president of the United States promises that.
China, North Korea, Iran, they are
has a decent standard of living. The Europeans are gonna be in a completely different place. They're gonna be the ones who come out of this the way that some of the some of the UK colonies came out of it, severely beaten. They will recover then, but it will take them another 50, 60, 70 years, once they realized what is actually happening.
Thank M Spark 7. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Also, since we're on this European thing and we're talking about what is going on in Ukraine and how the United States and Europe continues to beat this dead horse and push Ukraine up against Russia. And it seems like in Europe, above everybody else at that time, is the 4 European countries territorially to the people.
600 years, and it's a state of affairs that we haven't seen in this scale ever. You must imagine we are now 8 billion people, right, on this planet, distributed into roughly 200 nations, the world, and it underlies future. The next 500 years are going to be significantly different for the Europeans and the Americans than the last 500 were.
Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really enjoyed this conversation, even though we had a little technical difficulties. I got to have you back on the platform. I'll send you the video in a few minutes. Hey, be safe and be blessed. And hope next time your train won't leave you stranded.
Sorry for that.
Everybody. Everybody, listen, remember what I always tell everybody. Do right by others, not because there's some material gain to be had, but do right by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching you, remember that God Almighty was watching you. God sits high, as my mom would always say, he sits high on the throne of power, but he looks low at the actions of man. Know that I love each and every one of you who love truth, but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, remember to stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Thank you, everybody.